Right, so we're diving deep today
Okay.
into Hero MotoCorp's Q2 FY25 results.
Yeah,
Um, it's earnings season, as always,
absolutely.
and
It's big time for
great time for this, yeah.
two-wheeler companies in India.
Exactly, and we're talking about,
The biggest,
the biggest,
the world's largest.
the world's largest motorcycle and scooter manufacturer.
That's right.
So really a fascinating case study here.
It is. And you know what's really interesting?
Yeah.
It's just how dynamic the Indian two-wheeler market is.
Yeah, it feels like every other day there's a new EV startup,
Exactly.
making headlines.
Making big claims.
Yeah.
So how is Hero MotoCorp navigating all of this?
Yeah, that's the key question, right?
It is, because you know what?
That's right.
They were actually the only two-wheeler company in India to achieve double-digit
Oh, wow.
wholesale growth quarter on quarter in Q1.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, in FY25.
So let's break down their business model a bit. They're known for their dominance, right?
Yeah.
In the mass market.
Absolutely.
Affordable bikes, wide reach,
Yeah, especially in those rural areas.
especially rural areas.
Yep. But they're not limiting themselves to just that.
Oh, okay.
So they're also making these strategic moves
Yeah.
to expand into the premium segment.
So what does that look like? I mean,
We're seeing new launches like the Extreme 125R,
Okay.
and they've actually partnered with Harley-Davidson
Oh, wow.
to kind of leverage that.
Smart.
Yeah.
Oh,
That brand appeal, that premium.
premium brand appeal, yeah.
It's exact.
So it's like they're acknowledging that they
Yeah.
need to reach a wider range of customers.
A wider range of customers and appeal to those
Yeah.
maybe looking for something a little bit more
A little bit more than just the
than just basic transportation.
basic transportation.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And it ties into their overall revenue diversification strategy.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell me more.
Parts, accessories, and merchandising,
Okay,
or PAM, as they call it,
Pam, got it.
seeing significant growth.
Interesting.
So it's not just about
Not just about the vehicles themselves,
selling vehicles.
Yeah.
It's about building a brand,
a brand, an ecosystem, yeah.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk numbers then.
Right.
What are some of the headline figures
Let's do it.
from Q2 FY25 financials?
Well, they actually hit a record-breaking revenue
Oh, wow.
of 10,463 crore.
Okay, so
That is an 11% growth year on year.
11% growth. That's huge.
Yeah, and their PAM revenue also reached an all-time high
Right.
of 1,456 crore.
So Pam is really
PAM is killing it.
taking off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. What's driving all this success, though?
Well, I think a couple things. First,
Okay.
strong operating leverage due to volume growth.
Makes sense.
They're selling more bikes and scooters, which is great.
Okay.
Spreading fixed costs over a larger base.
Okay, so it's not just top-line growth.
No,
It's also,
they're paying attention to that bottom line.
yeah.
Also, cost-saving initiatives like their LEAP program.
Okay.
So this is streamlining processes,
Right.
optimizing their supply chain, reducing waste.
So becoming more efficient, essentially.
Exactly.
And it's paying off.
And it's paying off their
Yes, that's-
profit after tax,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
PAT-E,
Right.
up by 14% to 12,204 crore.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But what about
Oh, here we go.
the EV elephant in the room? Right.
The big question.
Everyone wants to know how they're tackling this
Everyone wants to know.
massive shift.
Well, I think their strategy is two-pronged.
Okay.
They're expanding their Vita EV scooter portfolio,
Okay.
aiming to cover all price segments,
Makes sense.
gain market share,
Yep.
but they're also laser-focused on profitability
Okay.
in the
right.
EV business.
So that seems like a tough balance, right?
It is a
Uh,
tough balance, because
yeah.
how do you...
How do you make EVs profitable when the technology is still
Yeah,
so new and expensive?
that's right. Well, they're aggressively pursuing cost reductions
Okay.
through what's called BIOM restructuring.
BM restructuring.
Yeah.
What is that?
Essentially, it's looking at every component in their EVs
Oh,
and finding ways to make them more cost-effective.
it's
Really squeezing those efficiencies out
squeezing out the efficiency.
of the manufacturing process.
Okay.
They're also leveraging government incentives.
Oh, interesting.
So their new Vita products, for instance,
Yeah.
are expected to be PLI compliant,
What does that mean?
which means they qualify for production-linked incentives.
Okay.
This gives them a cost advantage,
Okay.
helps them compete
Makes sense.
with those new EV players.
So really, it sounds like they're pulling out all the stops
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
make this a core part of their business.
They have to, because the future is electric.
Right?
And they know they need to be a leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some of the challenges
Okay.
that they're facing. We've talked about the competitive landscape,
Yeah.
but are there any other sort of headwinds?
Well, I think one of the biggest is market share pressure.
Okay.
While they still dominate the entry-level segment,
Right.
they have lost some ground in
Right.
other categories.
So even though their revenue is growing,
Yes,
they are facing
tough battles.
tough battles
Yeah,
within specific segments.
within specific segments.
There's
And there's those external factors at play.
Oh, like what?
Well, like the political and economic instability in Bangladesh.
Oh, right.
Now, it's not a major revenue contributor,
Right.
but it does add some complexity
Yeah.
to their operations.
Exactly.
You also have the ongoing tax investigation.
Right, that's right.
Now, while they've stated that they're confident in their position,
Yeah.
this is definitely something to keep an eye on.
It just adds another layer of...
Uncertainty.
And it could have financial implications.
Right, right.
Sure.
So they have a lot.
On their plate.
They do.
But what about their outlook? What about their strategy?
Well, they are optimistic
Okay.
about the long-term growth potential of the
Right.
two-wheeler industry in India.
Okay.
They believe that a strong monsoon season and positive economic fundamentals will support continued demand.
So what are their specific plans?
Well, they're doubling down on key growth areas.
Wow.
They're continuing to expand their presence in the premium segment.
Okay.
They're launching new scooters,
Okay.
both IC and EV,
Okay.
and they're focusing on rural market penetration,
So they're playing
offense and defense.
offense and defense.
At the same time,
Yeah.
really trying to solidify their position
Yeah.
while also innovating
Right.
in the EV space.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how these strategies play out
It will.
in the coming quarters.
Yeah, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's take a closer look at some of these numbers
Right.
behind their recent performance. So
Let's do it.
we're going to be diving into their financial statements.
Yeah.
Starting with the balance sheet.
Gives us a good snapshot of,
Yeah.
of their assets and liabilities,
And
their financial health.
their overall financial health. Yeah.
For sure.
Once we've unpacked the balance sheet,
Yeah.
we're going to move on to their cash flow statement.
Which will reveal how efficiently they're generating cash from their operations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're also going to analyze key financial ratios.
Always a good time.
Yeah.
Like EBITDA margin,
Right.
debt to equity ratio.
Give us that more nuanced picture
Yes.
of their performance and how they compare to
Your peers.
their peers.
Absolutely.
It sounds like we have a lot of ground to cover.
We do, but don't worry, we'll break it down for you
Yeah, we would.
in a way that's clear.
In a way that's clear and easy to understand.
Easy to understand.
So stay with us
Stay tuned.
as we continue our deep dive into Hero MotoCorp.
Absolutely. So let's jump into that balance sheet.
Okay, let's do it.
As of September 30th, 2024,
Okay.
their total assets are sitting at 29,261.15 crore.
Okay, so break that down for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
What are we talking about here?
well, their largest asset is actually
Right.
investments in associates, coming in at 3,006.16 crore.
Okay.
And this includes their stake in Ather Energy,
Oh,
which is a rising star in the EV space.
So they're not just going all in on their own.
No, they're
own
vibrant.
brand.
They're diversifying, right?
Yeah.
They're building their own brand, but they're also
Yeah.
strategically partnering with others.
Very smart.
And then, of course, you've got their property, plant, and equipment
Right.
valued at 5,165.04 crore.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Massive manufacturing infrastructure.
the world's largest
Yeah, exactly.
two-wheeler manufacturer.
They need a lot of factories.
They do.
They do.
And machinery. What else stands out to you from this
Well,
balance sheet?
I think their financial investments, totaling 4,766.9 crore,
Go.
really demonstrate their focus on managing their cash
Okay.
wisely. So they're not just sitting on a pile of cash.
Yeah, they're putting it to work.
They're putting it to work, exactly.
Okay, so let's shift gears then a little bit
Yeah,
and look at their cash flow statement,
let's do it.
which I think is going to give us a better understanding of
Absolutely, because cash flow is king.
exactly how effectively they're generating cash from their operations.
That's right. So for the first half of FY25,
Right.
they generated 2,817.32 crore
Okay.
in
Let's-
cash from operating activities.
Good number, right?
That's a really healthy figure.
Okay, so what are they doing with all that cash?
Right. So they're definitely reinvesting a significant portion.
Okay.
So 459.72 crore went towards capital expenditures.
Which I imagine
Yeah, primarily for property, plant, and equipment.
makes sense. You got to keep those factories up to date.
Exactly. You got to upgrade those manufacturing capabilities. And I think that's likely to support their EV expansion
Yes.
and that premium segment push.
Makes sense.
And then you also have a hefty chunk going towards investments.
Oh, okay.
So 2,348.55 crore to be exact.
And what kinds of investments are we talking about?
So this could be anything from new technologies, strategic partnerships, or simply growing their financial portfolio.
Okay, so really looking at that long-term growth.
Absolutely, that long game.
Yeah.
They're strengthening their current position, but also investing for the future.
So let's talk ratios.
All right, let's get into the numbers.
But before we do, can you just give me like...
Little ratio 101?
Yeah, little ratio 101. What are we actually looking at here? What do these things tell us?
So let's start with EBITDA margin.
Okay.
This measures their profitability from core operations before you factor in things like interest and taxes.
Okay.
So for the first half of FY25, their EBITDA margin stands at 14.4%.
So just so I understand that correctly,
yeah,
that means for every euro of revenue,
you got it,
they're making about
14.4.
14.4 in profit.
In profit, that's right.
Before interest and taxes?
Before interest and taxes.
Okay.
And that 14.4% is really good.
Okay.
Suggests that they're managing costs effectively.
Okay.
Pricing their products strategically.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what about debt then?
Right. So that's where the debt to equity ratio comes in.
Right.
So this compares their total debt to their shareholders' equity.
Okay.
Now, a high ratio indicates they're relying heavily on borrowed money.
Okay.
Which can be risky, right?
Yeah.
But Hero MotoCorp's debt to equity ratio is very low.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Suggests they're using a conservative amount of debt to finance their growth.
So they've got a strong financial foundation.
They do.
To support their growth.
That's right.
Okay, so now that we've kind of looked at the numbers a bit, let's talk about the people.
The people behind the numbers.
The people behind the numbers, right?
It's important.
The leadership who's driving all of this forward.
Absolutely. So at the helm, you've got Niranjan Gupta, their chief executive officer.
CEO.
Yep. He's been instrumental in guiding the company through this period of transformation.
Yeah, with EVs and everything.
Especially with EVs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and from what we've seen in the conference call transcripts, he seems to have a really clear understanding of the challenges and the opportunities.
And the opportunities of industry.
And they're committed to profitable growth.
Absolutely.
Investing in EVs, expanding into the premium segment.
That's right.
Really focusing on strengthening that core business.
Yeah. He also highlighted their focus on brand building.
Okay.
And enhancing the customer experience.
So it's not just about selling more bikes.
No.
It's about
creating a loyal customer base.
An experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what about the rest of the leadership team?
Well, you've got Vivekanand
as
the chief financial officer.
CFO.
Yep. Responsible for the company's financial health, managing those investments.
Okay.
And from his comments, he seems laser focused on profitability and creating value for shareholders.
Yep. Makes sense.
Makes sense. He's the CFO.
Yep.
And then you also have Ranjivjit Singh, who heads their India business unit, which is their biggest market, obviously.
Right.
He seems very attuned to those dynamics.
Of the Indian market.
Of the Indian market, yeah. And then, of course, you can't forget Swadesh Srivastava, who's leading their emerging mobility business unit.
Right. So he's the
EV guy.
EV guy.
Yeah, he's in charge of that EV strategy.
So we've talked about their strengths.
Yeah.
We've talked about their strategy. Yeah. We've talked about their leadership.
Yeah.
But we also need to talk about the risks. Right?
Yeah.
Because every company has them.
Every company has risks.
So what are some of the things that could potentially derail their success?
Well, I mean, we've talked about that intense competition from both the traditional players and those EV startups. Yeah. And I think the two-wheeler market in India is so dynamic. Yes. And those consumer preferences.
Always changing.
They're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up.
And there's also the uncertainty.
Oh, absolutely.
Around that EV transition.
Yeah, no one really knows how quickly EVs will become mainstream.
Exactly, or how that consumer behavior will change.
Right, and then there's that ongoing tax investigation.
Right, which just adds another layer of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And then there's the situation in Bangladesh.
Right. Now, it's not a major part of their revenue.
Yeah.
But that political and economic instability, it just adds a little bit more complexity. Yeah. So they have a lot going for them.
Yeah.
But there are some potential pitfalls that they need to navigate.
It's like they're walking a tightrope, right?
They are. They are.
Between growth and risk and uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot to be in.
So, I mean, after looking at all of this, what really stands out to you?
I think their commitment to innovation is really impressive.
Yeah.
They're not just dipping their toes into the EV market.
Yeah, they're going all in.
They're going all in. They're developing new products,
Yeah.
building out their charging infrastructure,
Right.
partnering with other players.
It's a big bet.
It is a big bet. It's a risky strategy.
Yeah.
But it could pay off.
It could.
Big time.
Yeah.
If they can execute.
But that's the question, right? I mean, do they have the agility to compete with these startups?
Right. Who aren't burdened with all that legacy infrastructure.
Yeah.
Business model. They can just move fast.
They can move fast and pivot quickly.
Yeah.
Hero MotoCorp is like this giant ship trying to change course. It takes time.
It does.
Careful maneuvering.
And if they're not careful, they'll end up kind of stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the middle, exactly. Not the leader in EVs.
Right.
But also
losing ground.
Losing ground in the traditional market.
It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in.
That's right.
But it's good for the consumer.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It's driving innovation.
Yeah.
Pushing prices down.
Yeah.
And it's giving us choices.
Well, choices.
More choices. That's right.
So it's an exciting time.
It is an exciting time.
To
be following the Indian two-wheeler market.
This market.
For sure.
So after all this.
Yeah.
What's your gut feeling
about
Hero MotoCorp? I mean.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I think they've got a lot of strengths.
Yeah.
They're making some smart moves.
I think their leadership team seems to have a clear vision.
Yeah.
But the market is so dynamic.
It is.
And there are some challenges. Yeah. So it's going to be a very fascinating journey to watch.
It is.
Yeah.
So they're a company in motion.
They are.
They're not just riding the wave.
No.
They're trying to shape.
They are trying to shape it.
The future.
That's right.
They've got a good financial foundation.
They do.
A strong management team.
Yeah.
A clear strategy.
Yeah.
But, as you said,
they also face some risks.
They do.
And it's really going to depend on their ability to execute.
Yeah.
And adapt to this rapidly changing market.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
And Hero MotoCorp is definitely a company worth watching closely.
It is.
So we've only scratched the surface here.
We have.
And we want you
to dig deeper.
To explore those links.
Read those reports.
That we've provided.
Explore those links.
And form your own conclusion. We want to hear your thoughts.
We want to hear from you.
What do you think about Hero MotoCorp's future?
Let us know.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see this legacy giant, like, a household name in India.
Yeah.
Facing this wave of new tech, new competition.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
It does.
Like how much of their success is due to that brand loyalty.
Right.
Versus, actual innovation.
And I think there's definitely a heritage there. Like,
there is.
A trust that they've built up over decades.
Oh, absolutely.
But I also think they're not resting on their laurels.
No, they're not.
The fact that they're pushing into EVs.
Right.
Expanding into the premium segment. I mean, that shows.
It shows they're trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, and they're diversifying those revenue streams.
That's right.
I mean, that growth in parts, accessories, and merchandising.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It is. What do you think that means?
It suggests that they're not just selling vehicles.
Right.
They're building a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, like an ecosystem.
It is, yeah.
Almost like what some of these tech companies have done with services and subscriptions.
Exactly, yeah. It's about keeping those customers engaged.
Right.
Beyond just that initial purchase.
So let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
What could go wrong here?
What could go wrong?
What are the big risks?
Well, I think execution is key.
Okay.
They've got a bold vision.
Yeah.
But can they actually deliver?
Right, like scaling up that EV business.
That's right. Scaling up EV is no easy feat.
It's not easy.
There are challenges in manufacturing, supply chain.
Getting consumers to adopt.
Consumer adoption, exactly.
It's a huge
challenge.
Yeah, and then of course you got the competition.
Right, which we talked about before.
Yeah, but I think it's worth reiterating.
Yeah.
Because those EV startups, they're nimble.
Yeah, they are.
They're hungry.
And they're not afraid to take risks.
They're not afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
And they don't have that burden of legacy infrastructure.
Or the pressure
to maintain
market share.
Yeah, in those traditional segments.
In the traditional segments.
But they can move fast.
They move fast.
Pivot quickly.
And pivot quickly. Hero MotoCorp.
Yeah.
It's like this giant ship trying to turn.
And if they're not careful,
they'll get stuck.
They're going to be stuck in the middle.
In the middle, exactly.
Not quite the EV leader.
Right.
But also losing ground in the traditional market.
That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
But it's good for consumers, though, right?
No, absolutely. And
all this competition, it drives innovation, pushes prices down.
It does.
Gives us more choices.
Absolutely. So as a consumer, I'm excited about what's happening.
Yeah, so after this deep dive into Hero MotoCorp.
What's your gut feeling?
Gut feeling? What do I think?
What do you think?
I think...
Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I think they have a lot of strengths.
They do.
They're making smart moves.
Yeah.
I think their leadership team seems to have a good vision.
Yeah, they do.
But like we've said, that market...
It's incredibly dynamic.
Is super dynamic.
And who knows what's going to happen?
We just don't know what's going to happen.
We don't know.
But that's what makes it so interesting, right?
That is what makes it so interesting.
I mean, we've just scratched the surface here.
We have.
And we really want you to go and dig deeper.
Yes. Read those reports.
Explore the links.
Explore those links. Form your own conclusions.
Form your own conclusions.
Tell us what you think.
Tell us what you think.
Are you bullish? Are you bearish?
Are you bullish or are you bearish?
On Hero MotoCorp's future.
We want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So that's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.